All right, guys, I got a question for you. Why is this album art so controversial? Why is this album art so controversial? Because Twitter or people on X have been fighting and arguing. I swear, they fight over anything. It could be dogs versus cats, and people will still be uttering death threats to one another, man. Well, look, these artworks are not creating death threats, at least that I know of, but it's still creating like a lot of interesting talking points. Gotta talk to the mic over here. But let's take a moment to talk about art and the importance of good album art. As music consumers, music enjoyers, whatever you want to call us, we tend to be dismissive when it comes to the artwork. It's all about the music, the audio, the tours, but subconsciously the album art does so much to the conscious where it gives us visuals to the music when there are no visuals when listening, right? It's basically the idea that a picture says 1,000 words. When we're listening, we have that picture, but then 1,000 words are singing or screaming into us. But this album art right here from Australian metalcore band Alpha Wolf is stirring up a whole lot of conversation. It's for their new record, Half Living Things, and people on X and Reddit have been going off. Worst album art I've seen in a long time. Gotta be top 10 worst album art of all time. Rui, who's also a graphic designer, said, "Artwork goes absolutely insane, holy shit." My personal take on it is good art should start a conversation. Well, this Alpha Wolf artwork is creating a whole lot of conversations, so I say good job on the bold choice. I personally dig the 90s new metal throwback style, yet it feels refreshing in the metalcore space. So yeah, personally I dig it. You know, it looks like it's heavily borrowing from Limp Bizkit's Significant Other, which makes sense because Limp Bizkit is new metal and Alpha Wolf is a metalcore band with new metal elements, hence why people like myself call them new metalcore. But some people even notice the influence in 90s hip-hop aesthetics, including the Australian hip-hop scene. So my biggest takeaway to why I think this is considered good is obviously it wears its influences on its sleeve, which means you have an idea of the sound of the record before getting into it, judging by history of the bands like Limp Bizkit. Second takeaway is that it's in the metalcore scene, and the metalcore scene is notorious for having lack of creativity and bands borrowing ideas from every other band, which makes the scene extremely convoluted and very hard to stand out. Because here's some recent artworks that look kind of similar, and I want to shout out Rui. Rui is a homie to the channel, but also he designs the artwork for Darko and many other bands. I feel like he's influenced the scene in so many ways, and I feel like a lot of people don't notice his big impact on the scene overall. And lastly, what I said in my tweet about good art should start a conversation. Well, whether it's good or bad art, and you know, a lot of people not digging the Alpha Wolf like artwork, at least it's creating conversation. But it's the amount of times I see bands dropping new singles or albums and a lot of people don't comment on the artwork. It is what it is. Where Alpha Wolf was bold, they took a risk. And I respect that about Alpha Wolf. And it's almost similar to the story of Lauren Shore's like Pain Remains album art, which was pretty controversial when it came out. Basically, it did not fit the stereotype of the deathcore scene, and a lot of people had some opinions on it. Here's some on Reddit. That album cover, who the fuck thought that was a good idea? Looking forward to the album, but damn, that artwork is hilariously bad. Wish they would have stuck with whoever did the artwork for the EP because that looks phenomenal. So basically there was so much negative reception around the artwork where Adam, who is the guitarist and songwriter, had to make a public response. Art should comfort the disturbed and disturbed the comfortable. Banksy. While some seem to be upset, dislike, or flat out hate our latest album art, the main thing I gather is a misunderstanding. This isn't an explanation to change your mind, it's simply my story. The art is a representation of where I was mentally and emotionally while making this record, and more importantly, where I spend most of my days. Personally, I've been struggling with depression and suicidal ideations for as long as I can remember. This past year has been at what feels like its all-time worst. Where anyone would expect me to feel my best, be my happiest, and on top of the world, I couldn't be any further from it. So the album is called Pain Remains. It has a knife to the throat in the imagery. You know, it's a message about hopelessness, pain, and desperation. And it's the theme of the album, so it makes sense. And I also really do respect Adam's decision to try something personal. But personally, I'm not too crazy about the logo placements, the colors. So I personally like the idea of the Lauren Shore album being somewhat unique for deathcore. I just don't dig the look of it too much personally. even though I respect it. And the next artwork over here created a whole lot of conversation. So this is Northlane, another Australian metalcore band. I don't know what's going on with Australia and all their controversial artwork this past week, but basically they're EDM core, rave core, they're just metalcore that is infused with EDM music. Basically, Northlane has a track record with their artwork to incorporate sci-fi elements into traditional metalcore style like looking visuals. So for example, Northlane Singularity has two people in the desert, you know, worshiping this big old rock. And then you can kind of look at something like Under Oath to Find the Great Line, where it's a single person just crossing the desert, right? It's kind of similar, but also different because of the sci-fi elements. But then I feel like because of this, Northlane has continued to incorporate more sci-fi elements into their artwork with like abstract patterns, sharp edges and gradients with neon lighting, right? And the latest artwork for their EP Mirror's Edge actually kind of fits the direction of where the band is going, right? So it's not a bold decision to create art like this, and probably they didn't expect the backlash that they got or have this much conversation around it. So the debate comes from the artwork being AI. I swear to God that Northlane album art is looking so AI generated right now, especially when they haven't credited an artist for it anywhere. How disappointing. I love Northlane so much, but AI cover art always looks like pure ass, man. Just hire artists. This cover art is beautiful. Fuck, it's AI. And then some people, the more I stare at the cover art, the more I love it. It sucks that Northlane used AI art, but Jesus Christ, y'all are fucking annoying about it. So I wanted to find out if this was actually truly AI. I've seen some of the visuals and they do look like it's AI generated, but I want to know if they actually hired an artist. So looking over here, I found that Northlane actually hired someone who's been like in graphic design for the past 20 years. So after doing some digging, I'm like 90% sure that this is the artist, but his name is Boltron. This dude actually has some pretty good rebuttals to the whole AI conversation, including it's true that you can steal as much as you want with AI, but remember when we had plenty of resources before this AI hype over these years? Tumblr, Pinterest, Found, Behance, Flickr. My work has been stolen too for ages. Ideas also, and I learned that's something we need to accept and embrace. Visibility versus ownership. I invite everyone to join AI under my spectrum, which I consider I am absolutely concerned with the principles of right and proper behavior and use. And I will keep forward with these professional standards, period. Dude seems very active in the AI space, doing workshops, presentations. Another rebuttal is AI can complement our jobs. It's changing horizons and paradigms, but it's still a tool that needs a human mind and skills to control and interpret it. Humans will always be the ones behind the creative process. There are big changes happening, but only by talking about them can we understand them. Accepting this makes us problem solvers. AI empowers human creativity and allows us to explore our most imaginative side. It's an enhancer of our ideas rather than a replacement. So this dude has a painting background and probably more, but he is tapping into AI and using it as a tool to leverage, you know, his imaginative mind. That's his argument.
OpenAI is so powerful that it has to be something that everyone can use, control, and contribute to. Or else AI will be controlled by corporations who just want an unfair advantage like Cartman does. Ah! Screw you dumb Jeep!
So the debate on AI being ethical is still an interesting conversation to have, which I have covered in the past, but it's still a tool at the end of the day. And there's some artists who do, you know, the bare minimum. And then there's some who really tries to understand the tool and tries to get the best results with it. So Northlane being a band that is like the cutting edge of metal music, you know, introducing sounds of like the future, if you will, with like EDM sounds into metalcore, it almost seems suiting for a band like that to work with an AI graphic designer. But if this was like a band like Metallica using AI art, I can probably see some backlash because they're like an old school band with traditional imagery. And if they start incorporating futuristic elements, it just doesn't seem on brand with them. But who knows, you know, maybe these bands will use AI and it could cut corners in the future, and I totally understand the ethical, you know, debate on that. And when it comes to AI art over like traditional graphic designers, like today, a lot of these artists today already use like a lot of 3D model templates, a lot of copy and paste, dragging images, and using tools that are computer generated to create faster art. But if we're going to go way back and just look at paintings and drawings, that is the human touch, and that is, to me, artwork grounded at its true source. So this conversation about AI art could be a whole separate video. I do think that the human touch can never be replaced, but I totally understand where AI art could be used properly for bands like Northlane. So for me, I actually do dig the Northlane album art. And the way that it was used makes me feel better, because I did initially think that it was just like them going into Mid-Journey AI, just putting in some prompts and getting the artwork that they wanted and just calling it a day. It seems like there was a couple more steps in that, actually hiring a graphic designer who's been designing for 20 years, right? But what do you guys think of the Northlane artwork or the Alpha Wolf artwork? So comment down below, spice up my life. Yeah, this is creating a whole lot of conversation. I'm interested to know what people actually think about the whole AI art, or just, you know, wearing their influences on their sleeve, like 90s aesthetics, hip hop, or new metal. So comment down below if you dig the artwork or not. I'd love to have a conversation in the comments. But other than that, thank you for tuning in. Till next time, peace.